Hello, Toy Collector fans, Universal Toy Collector here, and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the weekly series where I get to chat with you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place, and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. All right, you lot. So who is the guest on this week's episode then? Well, why don't we all find out? Sit yourselves down, put your feet up and make yourselves comfortable, and let's take a look at some of his collection in a musical montage. Alrighty then, so once again we are treated to a fantastic collection. We are treated to a little bit of Star Wars, a little bit of wrestling, and there's a lot of love for Transformers. It's a pleasure to welcome to the channel, Ron. How you doing, sir? Nice of you to be here.
Doing very well. Thank you for having me
Awesome
on.
stuff.
Appreciate it.
No. Appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much. It does mean a lot because, like I said to a few people, it's people like yourself that help the series tick over. So very much appreciated. So you were saying you know a little bit about the series then?
I do indeed, yes.
Awesome stuff. So you know what's coming. I've got 10 questions all about you and your collection. And yeah, run time roughly about an hour. If we go a little bit over, it's not too much of a big issue. So if you're ready, sir, we shall crack on.
Let's hit it.
Okay, let's see what's gonna happen here. Right. What toy lines were you into as a kid? And what memories do you have of those toy lines?
So as a kid, started out very early. So I got to see Star Wars when it first came out. I was 4, when it was
Okay.
released, and I saw it actually in a drive-in movie theater from the back of my parents' station wagon, and
Wow.
it was it just it blew me away. A 4-year old blew me away. I had a lot of other toys before that. I remember having some Legos and some Fisher Price adventure people and things of that
Mm,
nature. But Star Wars really got me into the game. That was really what I mean. Obviously, that was the driving force. And
yeah.
we had so many. I had so many Star Wars toys when I was a
Mm,
kid. Um, and so that kind of drove my initial collection, and then later on I got into the original Masters of the Universe.
okay. Yeah.
um, had that in the very early 80s, and then kind of moved away from that. My younger brother took over kind of the toy collecting uh, gig of Masters of the Universe, and so he basically took possession of all those, and then I picked up Transformers, and Transformers really ticked all the boxes for 10-year-old me.
Yeah.
Robots, cars, planes. Uh, it was just too good to be true. I loved it, and yeah, I collected Transformers. By this time, Star Wars was kind of on its way out,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, so I was all in for Transformers. I had some other lines of toys. I had like robotics and trying to think of Star Command. I had a bunch of them, but they were all sci-fi oriented. Everything was
Yeah.
science fiction oriented stuff.
Mm,
Um, and yeah, I just loved it. So I stayed with Transformers right up to about 86, 87. I never really had a lot of the movie stuff. Um, but by that time, I was starting to move away from toys as a
yeah.
moving into my teenage years, and
Mm.
so other things took front priority there.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. What intrigues me is when you said that you went to go and see Star Wars at the age of 4. At that age, did it kind of sink in what was going on? Did you kind of understand and get the feel for the movie? I mean, because
Uh,
I didn't get to see it until I must have been about, I think it was 6. I didn't get to see
yeah.
Star Wars until I was 6. So, how was that for you at that age? The experience and the taking the film in.
Yeah, for me, I think that probably from what I can remember, it's all flashes and just jumbled up memories at this point. But
Yeah, yeah,
um, I'm certain I did not get the what was going on. The special effects, the action, that was what drew me in.
mm,
Uh, but I must have made my parents. I remember my mother telling me many, 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 many years ago that I made them take me probably like 10 times to the
wow,
theater over the
wow.
because they re-released it.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
It, and they put it back in the theaters, and I made them take me again. And at that point, we were living in the state of Alaska, so it was it was you get to go inside and watch the movies in the wintertime.
yeah,
so my
yeah,
so it was a good set of entertainment, and yeah, I just remember loving the entirety of everything there. Now, as far as getting the story and the plot and all that, that was probably fairly over my head, and
yeah,
mostly you know
yeah. Mm. And with He-Man and
hmm
Transformers, you had the Saturday morning cartoons. Were you into those? Were those a big influence in
oh
you
yeah.
getting into the He-Man and the Transformers lines?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The cartoons went. They really. I mean, that marketing was just genius, and
Yeah,
it definitely worked. I probably watched every episode when those shows were on. I would come home every day from school and watch Transformers and GI Joe. They were on generally back to back.
yeah.
And then He Man. I believe that one originally aired in on Saturday morning cartoons, if I
Okay.
remember correctly. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, we watched those a lot. Yeah.
I found with the Transformers, I mean, I was really into Transformers, the cartoon as a kid. And didn't really like collect them. I had one
Mhm.
which my nan brought back from the States when back in the 80s. So, and that was Jazz. So that was the only Transformer that I really ever had.
Mhm.
Playtime, I got a lot of like fulfillment out of my friend because he had Transformers and like a lot of stuff. So that's where I, built my love up for Transformers. With the series, I thought series 1 and 2, I thought were really well done. I like those. Then I found towards, midway through season 3, then after that up until the movie, the animation wasn't quite as good as what it was when it first came out. I think they sort of like cheaped out a bit there, and there was a lot of errors with the animation. Did you find that at all, or was that something you never noticed?
Yeah, no, the Transformers line really changed pretty dramatically, and of course, it was taken from Takara and brought over to the United States, and
Yeah,
then rebranded as Transformers. And a lot of people's complaints about Transformers was that the cartoon made them look one way, and the toys were radically different looking
yeah,
than what was
yeah,
in the cartoon, which was which is something we'll probably come back around to with the modern version of Transformers, what they call the masterpiece Transformers. But
yeah,
um, they, I loved them anyway. None of that stuff made a difference to me that they didn't experience articulation or anything like that. But
yeah,
as time went on with the show, um, the show, if I own them and I went back and watched them as an adult, uh, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like nigh unwatchable most of the time. The plots
yeah,
are ridiculous. There's a lot of animation errors.
yeah,
Um, Everything's kind of incoherent. There's not really a flowing process storyline. And by the time they got to the third season, everything was about the movie uh, Transformer stuff. And so
yeah,
that really shifted the dynamic of the way the Transformers were really no longer on Earth. They were kind of out having space adventures. And while I thought that was cool, once again, I was already kind of on my way out
yeah.
of really paying much attention to any of that stuff. And
Mm.
even the toys, for that matter, too. The toys radically changed because at that point, Hasbro was no longer getting Diaclone molds. They were making their own Transformers. So as soon as they were kind
Yeah,
of required to do that, you start to see a lot less smart design and a lot more like cheaping out, cheaper plastic, less
yeah,
die cast,
yeah,
what they called shell formers, which were like transformers that just basically collapse with a shell over the top of them, and you push the head in, it kind of like a very easy transformation process
yeah.
versus the original like kind of engineered stuff that came
Mm.
out of Japan. So yeah, it was definitely a pretty dramatic change, and the cartoon
Did
followed suit with that.
did that did that kind of ruin it for you going back and watching the Transformers as an adult? The ones that you watched as a kid, because as a kid we got so much enjoyment out of those cartoons, and it's the same with
Hmm.
He-Man. Did that
Yep.
kind of take that away from you? That like what or the enjoyment of Transformers, or not
No,
really?
not really. I feel like that it's still entertaining. It's
Yeah,
goofy, and obviously through the lens of an adult, you're like, oh my gosh, this is just
yeah,
a this is a bumbling mess. But it's still, a lot of fun to kind of go back and watch and reminisce.
mm,
And yeah, I don't regret buying those on DVD and owning them, and then I can show them to my son, and he can watch them. And I've done that. He sits through some of the episodes, and he has very particular characters that he wants to see, and he'll
yeah,
often make me rewind and watch those same parts over and over again with those characters. So,
mm,
um, if I could have done that in the '80s, which that of course didn't exist back
yeah,
then, I would have probably done the same thing because I definitely had a favorite suite of characters that that were
yeah,
important to me.
yeah. What was your favorite toy line as a kid, and why? Or did it sort of like change from as the years went on? You like fads. You like one thing, then you moved on to the next thing like that, or do you have an outright favorite?
I say so. While I collect Transformers as an adult, and a lot of people
Yeah.
would think that Transformers are the my favorite toy line.
Mm.
Honestly, my favorite toy line was Legos. Um,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I played with Legos um, since what actually even starting when I was about 4. I started getting some of the Lego sets, and we had a ton of them as kids. My
Yeah.
parents bought a lot of Legos for us, and to me, the Legos are the ultimate toy. They're they pr- you know they promote ingenuity and
Yeah.
imagination and spatial development skills, and it's just a fabulous toy and just a great line. And so we had thousands and thousands and thousands of Legos in a big box
Mm.
that we kept in my brother's room. So it was tons of fun. And I remember as a kid, um, I would my mother would always say I was such a great kid because I would just go up into upstairs into my brother's room, and we would sit there quietly building Legos all day long.
How
Um,
cool. How
we
cool.
were just that kind of thing. And we made up stories about them, and there
Mm.
were different colored bricks, so we gave the different brick types. So like blue had different powers from like the black bricks or the green bricks, and so if you built a ship out of yellow bricks, it was resistant to something. And then we would
Yeah.
have like little mock battles where we would throw like the missiles and stuff at at the ships to try and break them. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we had. I think Legos are probably the best toy line and probably my
With
favorite toy line.
with
Yeah.
with that, was it just like the big boxes of Lego that you got, or did you actually get the sets like the Lego City, or because it was
Yeah.
space Lego back then as well, wasn't it? I mean, we
Space
we didn't
Lego.
have
Yeah.
things like Star Wars Lego until I can't remember that was I think it was about
That
God,
might
when
have
was
been
that?
the
Was it
'90s when they really
90s?
started
Yeah,
coming out. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, because
Um,
Lego almost went bust.
yeah. We had the space Legos. In
Yeah,
fact, that ship that they re-released, the
yeah.
Lego re-released recently, that Lego set, we had that. I was actually just talking with Scuba Pete a couple of weeks ago about the moon base set and the monorail and
Okay.
all that was there. We had all those pieces, and I've I've threatened to go up to my dad's and search through the basement to see if we still have any of those things or if my brother has sequestered them.
Wow.
But we used my parents did keep a bunch of our Legos. That was the only toy
Yeah.
line that they kept after we left the house. And I guess they felt that it had value too. Everything
Mm.
else kind of just got tossed. You know,
Yeah.
sad fate for that, considering how much they cost nowadays. But
Yeah, yeah, right. God, blimey. I find it interesting that you say Lego. I mean, I got a few sets myself, but
Mhm.
back as a kid, it wasn't the kind of thing that I was sort of into. I mean, I had a little bit of Lego, but not a great deal. But to think of all the different toy lines that you had as kids, you had your Action Force or your G.I. Joe, you had your Star Wars, Motu, Transformers. What was it about Lego then that really kind of stood out for you and set it apart from the other toy lines?
I love building things. I just
Mm,
like building stuff and just taking the pieces. I don't remember ever building the spaceships as a set. Um,
okay.
and that was not really something that I would do. I would take all the parts and just make whatever I wanted, and sometimes
Yeah.
multiple things. Always trying to design something new or build something different. And that was the greatest appeal to me was the replayability of that toy. Um, and that line was just so massive and incredible,
Yeah.
to the point where actually my sister, who's my baby sister, she's the youngest of the three of us. Um, she sent me for my 50th birthday, which was just a couple of weeks ago, a Lego set because she said it was a Star Wars Lego set of the TIE bomber, and she said,
Okay.
"I know
Wow.
you love Star Wars and you love Legos, so I thought this would be perfect for you. It's the only
Oh,
gift that anybody got for me." And that's what she thought of. So that probably gives you a pretty clear idea of like how much
it must have
uh,
meant to you, yeah, as a
I
kid.
was into Legos. Yeah,
Wow.
and it's kind of funny too because with like Transformers was probably the second thing that I had. I had every
Yeah.
Transformer um, that was out there up to, like I said, to the 86,
Mm,
87 line. Um, and there was times I remember taking apart those Transformers, like to see how they were engineered. I remember
Wow.
disassembling them, unscrewing them, unbolting them, and actually sometimes even trying to put them back together to make my own transformer. That I don't remember that ever being successful because they don't really go back together because they're engineered in a specific way.
Yeah.
But that was the type of thing. And I think I mentioned that I had some robotics, which
Yeah.
were that was kind of a short failed line by Milton Bradley, that they had a like a two-part cartoon thing, and I'm not sure if it how much more it really did,
Mm.
but I had a bunch of those sets, and so like once again, for me it was about building things and construction and taking things apart and putting them back together, and then of course the space theme was also
Yeah.
the other big thing for me. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. So you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but when did you stop playing with your toys and when did you become a collector?
Yeah, I would say I stopped playing with toys right around when I was like 13. I've become a teenager.
Mm.
The focus changed. We much more into sports and girls and music and things of that nature. For me,
Yeah.
was becoming a was becoming more the rage. Um, so really, toys kind of filtered out. Now, once again, I say that, but I know I had the Legos and I still played with Legos, up into my, graduating from high school. So,
Okay.
that was,
Mm.
but otherwise, yeah, everything else kind of went away. And actually, I remember my brother basically taking all those toys and adopting them for himself. And then when he became kind of grew up and moved away from that, um, all those toys went into a box, and then eventually my parents just got rid of all of them except the Legos. So yeah, it was right around 13, I would say. And so as
Mm.
far as becoming a collector, interestingly enough, in the early 90s when they released the Power of the Force line,
Okay. Yeah.
um, and there was a big it was a big deal, those orange carded with a bunch of variant stuff that was coming out. And of course, there hadn't been Star Wars in like a bazillion years,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
saw those things on the shelves, and I just remember going bananas for that. Like, went out and bought all those figures, kept them on card, bought all the vehicles and everything else. So I guess I would say I kind of was a collector in the early 90s, as
Yeah.
far as like a toy line was concerned. I had been collecting records and stuff before that. But
Yeah.
and then when I went to college, I actually sold a guy my entire Power of the Force Star Wars collection.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't have any place to put it in college. I
Yeah.
was going to be living in a dormitory. So, yeah, I sold all that. And then I would say I got back in, like, really back into collecting in probably like 2014, 2015 when I
Okay.
started.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I started getting into it again. And that was right at what I would say is the beginning of the uptick of the toy collecting hobby becoming a thing,
Yeah.
um, that it is today, that we see
Mm.
today.
Mm.
Um, and so, yeah, I was definitely. I thought to myself, I now I have a disposable income, and I can have these things and go out and buy them again. And so I wanted to have that nostalgia. And there were
Yeah.
a few things that I had kept around, um, that I had. Like, I had a couple of Transformers that I had bought way earlier, and yeah, so I thought, well, let's get back into it. And I actually started with, rather than getting the vintage stuff, I started with the Masterpiece Transformer line,
Okay. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
eventually I was like, I'm just going to get the vintage stuff. So I did that too.
Awesome. Awesome. So you didn't rush back out and get your Power of the Force 2 collection back then?
No, no. I look back at that and I was like, well, I'm glad I sold those off. I mean,
You
they
don't
were
regret that then?
they were fine for the time, I think,
Yeah.
but when I look back at those figures, they're all like muscle bound and everything. I
Yeah.
thought, oh man, uh,
Yeah, I
no,
don't know about you. I mean, when I got really excited that they were going to be redoing Star Wars and that Star Wars figures were going to be back out in the stores again. So I got
Mhm.
quite excited by that. And then I saw the car backs and I saw the figures and I thought, oh, this is not the Star Wars. I mean,
Right.
listen, I know things have sort of like moved forward and the figures were supposedly be better. The articulation was still 5p away, but the
Right.
looks, should have been better. But yeah,
It
I mean,
really
I
wasn't.
still got them just for the simple fact that it was Star Wars. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I've moved all mine on. I still
Yeah.
have a few now, but I can't bring myself to get the whole lot again. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Right.
certain ones that
Yeah.
I've got, which are the first 12 from the original vintage Kenner line. I managed to
Right.
get those up in Power of the Force. But yeah,
Now,
it's
I will say, as a testament though to that line, their vehicles were really good. They
okay.
had the A wing, and they had a B-1 bomb, or they had the TIE bomber, and
Yeah,
and all those vehicles. I thought they were great. I thought they did a
yeah,
great job with those vehicles.
yeah.
It's just the figures I thought were not any
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Again, the thing is with that as well, and what I will add to that is that they actually did figures that weren't released in the original Kenner line.
that's true.
They
Yep.
did a Govindan, they did like a lot more Jabba's goons and stuff like that. So you could
Yep.
pick figures up, and I thought, okay, well we've not had him before. Awesome, we get him and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, for what it wasn't a bad line, and yeah, and then Transformers. Then it's just gone on from there because I was going to, leading into the next question, what do you currently collect?
Yeah. So as people will see in the intro, it's mostly, I would say, probably 85% Transformers. I
Yeah,
have a few other pieces. I vintage Transformers G1, but it's very specific. I only collect the characters that I liked, and
yeah,
that pretty much accounts for anything that's G1 from the original 84 line, and it's
yeah,
mostly Autobots with a few Decepticons, which would be the Seekers,
yeah.
and then I cheat a little bit by adding the Dinobots and the Insecticons in there, but
Okay.
because those were 85 releases. But yeah, that's the primary thing.
Yeah,
Um, I have some Star Wars. I don't have any vintage Star Wars stuff left.
yeah.
When I got divorced a couple of years ago, I sold off my entire collection, which I used to have this pretty huge collection.
Mm.
I had a toy room and everything. It was this massive collection of stuff. And I kind of got rid of all that, and I essentially restarted from
Yeah,
the ground up when I moved into a much smaller condominium from my house. But I kept the Star Wars stuff. I kept was these things called the movie realization Star Wars figures. They're an 8-inch line from Bandai, and they look like samurai warriors and stuff.
yes,
So
yeah,
they're all
yeah, yeah,
dressed
yeah.
up.
I saw the pictures. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are those are just awesome figs. I love them, and I wish that line was continuing, but I think it's probably I haven't seen a whole lot of new figures coming out for that, so I think that it might be
Okay.
dead, which makes me
Yeah.
sad. But it's a great line. I love that a lot. And then I recently got into the those micro spaceship line that they have. That's kind of the new the mini line with
Oh, yeah.
what is it called, micro something.
Galaxy
Like,
Squadron, isn't it, or something like that? Is it
yeah,
Galaxy
Galaxy
Squadron?
Squad, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and I like those vehicles. I thought they look good, and they were small enough that I could display them on the in the limited space that I had. So I
yeah,
thought, oh, I'll get these guys, and they were. I was very specific. I only want ones from the original trilogy.
yeah.
I don't really care much for most of the other ones. I did pick up a Razor Crest and the Marauder ship from the
Okay.
Bad Batch. But
Yeah,
other than that, everything else is just episodes 4, 5, and 6. So
yeah. I quite like
um,
the Republic gunship in that line.
yeah, that actually is a really cool. If I had the space for it, that would be something else I would have probably
Yeah,
picked up, because
yeah.
there's like
I
three
do
versions
quite
of
like that.
that, like a blue, a
Yeah,
green, and yellow, or something. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, those are
So what was
cool.
it about Transformers then? Sorry, I mean, because you know, why go back into the Transformers?
Yeah, I had the
Because you've got
most.
quite a big collection.
Yeah, because I felt like they would be something that. So if I had, say, done Legos, which, well,
Yeah,
as I said, is kind of my favorite line, um, I would just be disassembling them and reassembling them and disassembling and reassembling them all the time. I'd be playing with them. They weren't really going to be a display type thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so when I thought about that, I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and get some Transformers. And like I said, it started with this Masterpiece stuff. And then I said, well, as long as I'm getting Masterpiece, I might as well get the vintage stuff too. And then I got into the vintage stuff, and
mm,
it just, it just kept on going from there. So,
yeah. I mean, I've got to admit, I mean, I found Transformers pretty cool. The only big disappointment I had with the original G1 Transformers was Megatron. I thought he looked
oh God,
absolutely awful in robot mode. Wow, that was
that is
so
the
disappointing.
worst. That
Yeah,
is the absolute worst robot figure ever.
yeah, yeah,
Just so terrible. Um, I mean, he was cool, and as a pistol, he looked really neat, and
yeah,
looked very realistic.
yeah,
Back then they didn't have the orange tip or anything on him. Uh, but yeah, as a figure, he was terrible, absolutely
yeah.
terrible.
He
Um,
was.
and it's actually kind of funny because I didn't like any of what those guys, that line of that Diaclone line, that those type of characters came from. Like, I thought Soundwave was an awesome figure and a great
Yeah,
character, but I never felt like those micro change line guys really fit in because they're so out of scale.
yeah,
um, and as a kid, that really didn't matter to me. But as an adult, I look at that and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to collect any of those guys. So everything that I have now is an Autobot car or a jet, with the only exception being the Dinobots and the Insecticons. So,
yeah.
and
Have
that's just because
you seen the
Dinobots are
RED
cool.
series? The RED series of
Yeah,
Transformers.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
basically they're Transformers, but they don't transform. I mean, I've got a
right.
couple. Well, I've got I think about 4 or 5,
Yeah,
and I've got Megatron in that and Soundwave, and they look absolutely fantastic. They look
they do.
great. They really do
Yeah.
look great. And I thought, well, look, I don't have them in the original G1, so I'm quite happy to have them and just have them as my representatives for those
Yep.
two figures. They look so cool. And the thing is, they do Starscream, they do Bumblebee and Prime. But the thing is, they're all 6 inch. So
Right.
Bumblebee is the same scale as Prime. He's 6 inch. So
Yep.
it just doesn't look right. I wish they would have done him like, as a mini bot. I think it would have looked a lot better. But yeah, for what they are, I think they're pretty cool. They're great display pieces.
Yeah, I think so too. I thought they looked really good, and I heard a lot of people complain. They would say things like, "Oh, they don't transform, so they're not a transformer." And I don't think that's really true. I mean, the robot is the primary mode that everybody
Yeah,
wants to see,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
yeah, so it's just, I think that's a fine line. There's a couple of other lines out there that do that, and I'm so tempted to pick them up. There's a company called 30, and they
yes, yeah,
do non-transforming Transformers, and they have a very modern look to them. They look
yeah,
outstanding.
yeah.
They're a little pricey, but
Yes, they are. Yeah,
I've considered dipping my toe in those just
yeah.
because they're coming out with more and more, and they look pretty cool. So I'm like,
Mm. They do look good. They do look good. I mean, they're like the equivalent of like a sideshow, aren't they, or a Hot
oh
Toys
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
figure. They do look fantastic. I don't mind Studio 86 line. I think some of those are pretty cool.
Those look good.
Um,
Yep,
but when I display them, I just have them in robot mode. So,
yep,
but yeah, I don't mind the Transformers. I think they're pretty awesome. Some of them. But
yep.
what did you make of the movies then? The actual Michael Bay movies, and then
Michael
moving on
Bay.
from
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
So when the first movie came out, I thought that modernizing it and making them look the way they looked, I had no problem with that. Um,
yeah,
the only thing I didn't really care for was that all the Decepticons were kind of like insectoid looking, kind of
yeah,
had these weird. I don't know why they did that. That was maybe just to make them kind of scary or
yeah,
buggy like or whatever, or alienous. Um, but I like the idea of modernizing the Transformers and providing them with a coherent storyline. Um, and unfortunately, you didn't really get that from Michael Bay. Instead, you got explosions and slow motion and blurry
yeah,
effects, and um, I don't think he did a very good job of like rebuilding up a modern uh, Transformers mythos, as it were. Um,
yeah.
But and when it comes to like a lot of these modern remakes of things, I never expect them to, um, keep the original flavor text
Mm,
because it doesn't appeal to a modern audience, so they're not going to do that, and that's fine. Um, you have to watch it for what it is. It's kind of like the GI Joe classified line. When that first came out, they had made them all like sci-fi looking and everything else, and people
mm,
complained. That didn't surprise me because obviously they're going to modernize the line and try and make it
yeah.
appealing to
Mm.
a modern audience. But it turns out, of course, that only collectors are buying that stuff. So,
Yeah. I mean, are
so
you
they,
into the thinking then? Are you into the thinking that the stuff that we had as kids in the 80s and the look of the Transformers, you don't reckon that would sell this day and age? And the reason I'm asking is because I went to go and see Generations at the theater and Star
Mhm.
Trek film, and I'd never seen many of the original episodes of Star Trek,
Right.
with Captain Kirk and Spock. So obviously, spoiler, if people don't know, Captain Kirk dies in this film. So when he died, I was like, oh my god, I've heard so much about this guy. He's an absolute legend. So that made
Right.
me want to go back and check out the rest of the original series. So I watched the whole complete series. It was as corny as hell, but I liked
Yeah.
it because you get to see Captain Kirk in his heyday, sort of thing. So I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. Don't you think? I'm guessing that you don't feel that that would be the same with this generation. We're going back and seeing the original look of the Transformers or the original look of the GI Joes. They want something completely different.
Mm, I think if you're trying to sell them to kids,
Yeah,
no. I mean, I could take an example of my son. He comes in here and he always says he sees all my Transformers on the shelf and he goes, "Oh, Daddy, are you going to share those with me? Can I play with them?" So I'm like,
yeah,
"Those are old and fragile. Do not touch them." But he would totally play with them. He doesn't he like the way they look to him. He doesn't care about that at all. He
yeah,
likes the ones that look very modern. He likes the ones that don't. And he's kind of a little mini collector himself. So he likes the Hulk. That's his favorite
okay, yeah,
superhero. And so he has tons and tons of Hulk figures, and
mm,
a range of Hulk figures that he has is pretty extreme, all the way from what I would consider to be adult collecting figs, like
yeah,
um, the big Marvel Legends and stuff like that, all the way down to like the some more cheaper looking stuff, and he plays with them equally without concern or
yeah.
care in the world. So things like scale and looks and stuff doesn't mean much to a 5-year-old.
No,
Um,
absolutely.
so I
Yeah.
think that stuff sells because he also has some modern Transformers
Mm,
that he really likes, and I pick them up and I look at them and I'm like, they got hollow legs and their transformations are not very good, and their plastic is cheaper.
yeah.
And I think to myself, I was like, I wouldn't buy this and play with it, but he loves it. For him,
Mm,
it's the greatest thing in the world, so he doesn't
cool.
care.
Cool,
Yeah,
cool. I noticed you had a picture of some Marvel stuff there. You've got Galacticus. I'm guessing that's the HasLab
that is.
Galacticus. Yeah.
Yep, that's the
Yeah.
HasLab Galactus. Yep. My favorite superhero was the Silver Surfer. I collected
Okay.
all of his comics
Yeah.
when I was a kid. I used to work. I started working in a comic book store when I was 14, and they
Wow.
paid me in comic books. And I so I collected a lot of comics back then. But Silver Surfer was always my favorite.
Yeah.
Um, and in the DC side, the Green Lantern. So I obviously have a thing for like the cosmic level superheroes.
Okay.
And when they came out with that Galactus, I thought, oh man, I got to get that because I will get everything associated to Galactus and the Silver Surfer and the Cosmic Heroes. So if you look in that picture, you'll see that the only characters that are there are really space driven characters or Marvel characters that showed up in the Silver Surfer comics.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Moving on. Do you have a sentimental piece or a prized piece within your collection?
Yeah, I have a couple that I would say are prize pieces. sentiment, well, yeah, I mean, some of them are like it's not actually a toy that's my most prized thing in, I
Okay.
guess, in my collection. That is actually, I'm looking up at it because it's hanging on the wall. It's a like a plate of the re-release of the original trilogy when they did that modern release in, I guess it was 1995. They updated the movies
Yeah.
to a higher quality or whatever, and I have a bunch of autographs of
Oh wow.
actors from that movie. So that to me is a that has a lot of uh, sentimentality to me
Yeah.
because I got a lot of those autographs a long time ago, and many of the people on that are deceased now, like Kenny
Yeah.
Baker and Peter Mayhew, and those guys.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, that's a prize piece. Although it's not a toy, I
Yeah.
consider it kind of a part of
Well,
my
it's
collection.
still part of your collection. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But as far as like some of my favorite stuff, I would say uh, I really do love that Galactus. I think that's a wonderful figure.
Yeah.
I do think it was probably too expensive, but but as far as like just the cool factor of it, I mean, the thing is like 36 inches tall. It's amazing.
Wow.
And I'm just looking over my two favorite Transformers are Mirage and Jazz,
Yeah.
and I have an original Mirage from the Takara line that's got the Takara stamp, so the Diaclone
Yeah.
Jazz and the Diaclone Mirage. So those are
Yeah.
both very uh, precious to me because they're a little bit harder to find.
You must have been a little bit niffling. Hello, mate. How you doing? You all right?
Say hello.
Hi. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So I was going to say, you must have been a little bit disappointed then with Rise of the Beasts with what they done with Mirage, because Adam was a Porsche and
Yeah,
not his original look. I mean, and I just was like, that's not Mirage. That should have been
right,
Jazz.
right.
Did you
And
did
it
you
was
get that feeling or?
Yeah, I did, and that was that kind of stuff when they do those changes. That kind of stuff is the kind of stuff that actually does bother me a little bit.
Yeah.
And the thing is I never liked the Beast Wars to begin with, so a lot of people love that line. I always thought it was terrible. He actually loves it because he loves gorillas.
Okay.
So he thought that was the greatest thing ever. But do you want up here, dude? Hey, why don't you go get one of your toys to show Stu?
Oh,
Go get
that'd
your
be
favorite
awesome.
toy. Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be
He's
awesome.
gonna
Yeah.
go grab something, one of his
No
favorites.
worries.
Um, so yeah, when they do stuff like that, I was like, why would they do that? And I can only
Yeah.
assume it has something to do with the licensing rules and agreements that they have to make. I mean, they obviously kept him a sports car, but yeah, it was still yeah, it's disappointing because he wasn't a Formula One. But I guess you also wouldn't see Formula One stuff driving around.
You wouldn't. So
Okay.
then why did they not keep him as Jazz? Why did they not have him as Jazz? Hello,
Yeah.
mate. Right, I'm going to put you on the big screen because I want to see who this is. Who is this?
What do you got here? What's your favorite toy? What is this? Who is this?
Who's that?
King Kong.
King
That's
Kong?
right. King
Wow.
Kong. Yep.
You
This
like
is.
King Kong, do you?
Do you like King Kong? Yeah.
You do. What about Godzilla? Do you like Godzilla? You
Yeah.
do. Wow.
He's got Godzillas too.
Have you? You're going to
Yeah.
show me. Go on in. You go and get some Godzillas then.
he's he's really big right now into the movie monsters. He loves them.
Okay.
He
Yeah,
thinks
yeah.
they're great, and he's always asking for the King Kongs and the
Wow.
Godzillas, and yeah. So
Awesome. Just quickly, what about
yep.
a Grail piece? Is there a Grail piece that you want in your collection? And I don't mean it has to be the most expensive thing out there. Just something you might have seen in the store a few weeks ago, and you thought I'd get that, and went back to get it, and it had gone, and you've not seen it since.
No, it would be a rare vintage piece, and it would be an expensive piece. Would be probably the biggest grail would be to get some more of the Diaclone
Okay.
stuff. like any of the Dinobots. If I can get some Diaclone Dinobots, I'd be hot on that. Those things are top of my list. You got a Godzilla. That's
You
right.
got Godzilla?
Yeah.
Wow, look at
Well,
that. That is so cool.
Yeah. You love
Wow.
Godzilla?
Yeah, I got all the Godzillas and all the King Kongs.
You got all of them.
Who's your favorite, Godzilla or King Kong?
Godzilla and King Kong.
You don't have a favorite. You like them both. Yeah. Who's your favorite superhero? Who's your favorite superhero?
Hulk.
The Hulk.
Hulk.
Yeah.
Ah,
Of
mine's
course,
Iron Man. I like Iron Man.
He likes Iron Man. Do you like Iron Man? Yeah. He's got
Awesome
Iron Man
stuff.
stuff too.
Oh,
All right,
man,
let me
that
finish
is cool.
talking to
That is cool.
Stu, okay? Okay, thanks, pal.
No
He
worries.
just
That's
wants to
awesome,
be
man.
involved. Yeah.
Yeah,
Future
no.
collector right
Honestly,
there.
not a problem. That's so cool. That's so cool. So you were saying it would be an expensive piece.
Yeah, it would. Like those Diaclone figs are very hard to find. They're very expensive. And yeah, I would say a Diaclone Sunstreaker, a Diaclone. What? Oh, the tail came off. Yeah. Okay. Give me 1 minute, pal. Okay, I'll be right there. A Diaclone Blue Streak is on my list, which is the Blue Streak actually has blue in the Diaclone. A Diaclone Prowl, and then the Diaclone Dinobots would all be.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind getting Diaclone Insecticons too, because they're kind of a different color. Yeah, that stuff is all like very, very hard to come by and very expensive.
Cool.
But I would love to have them.
Yeah. I mean, when you say expensive, I mean, I suppose you're talking in the hundreds of dollars.
Yeah. Once something crosses the $200 line, I start thinking that's pretty expensive. And I don't have a problem with buying something like that, but if I'm going to drop $200, I really want it to look good and be good, and that's also very hard to find with the vintage figs, and especially the Diaclone stuff. That's really tough.
Yeah. No, I don't blame you. I've seen you on a few of Scuba's videos where you're going around doing toy hunts and stuff like that. I get insanely jealous because you've got some awesome shops out there. So and I cannot wait to go out there next year. I'm meeting up with Scuba, so hopefully we do like a little run around there. But is there a toy fair or convention that you would most like to go to?
Well, we kind of go to them.
Okay.
You said it. Yeah, we have them around here. We have so many toy conventions, and some people would say San Diego Comic-Con or something like that, but honestly, things like that are just too big and too grandiose and too expensive for what you're getting out of them. The local toy shows and the toy shops that we have around here are mint. They're really, really great. Pete and I went to one last year in October, and they had 600 vendors there.
Was that big one with in the different buildings?
Yes, in the different buildings.
It was insane. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, totally amazing. Such a great show, and you can walk away. You can find pretty much anything there, and you can make deals with people, so you don't have to just buy at max price. And Pete will tell you that I'm kind of a master of the deal, as it were, because I never buy anything at said price. I will always try and negotiate a price.
Yeah, awesome.
Especially for this expensive stuff, it is really expensive.
Too right. I mean, listen, I love watching you guys go around and do the toy hunts. Some of the stuff you see and just the sheer scale of them, I just think, wow. I mean, even like the stores that you go to, I just think they look absolutely fantastic. And like I say, you've got a lot of decent stuff over there, a hell of a lot. Yeah,
well, don't worry. When you come over, we're going to take you on the full tour.
I cannot wait. I'm so excited. That's awesome, man.
But bring a lot of dough.
Yeah, George has got deep pockets, which he will have, but no, it's just fine. We're going to come out prepared. So I cannot wait. That is going to be so cool. With that in mind, you've been on a lot of Scuba's videos. Would that be something that would interest you, starting up your own channel, going off to the toy hunts, showing your collection, or is it something that you'd rather not do and you're quite happy doing it through Scuba?
Yeah, I like doing it with Scuba. I'm way too busy, and my time to like edit videos and do things like that, I just cannot. I could not put the time that would be required into it.
Yeah,
Um, and uh, and I'm honestly probably just too lazy, straight up lazy about that. Um, I'd have to buy equipment and get everything together, and it's just, yeah, I like doing it with Scuba. He's really great to travel with.
yeah,
Part of the part of the best part about doing those things is actually just getting to spend time hanging out together.
yeah, yeah,
That's the best thing. We'll spend hours in the car driving from place to place, and we talk, and we just have like great conversations, and yeah, it's an awesome time. That's part of the great um, experience of the toy
yeah.
hunt is doing it with a friend. Because I can go to any of these toy stores by myself, it's just not as fun.
Yeah. I mean, he's great company. I mean, he kept, like I
Mhm.
say, he came over last year and saw him at Celebration for the first time, meeting him face to face in Leslie. Absolutely fantastic. And they're coming over again this coming April. We're
Mhm.
going to be going to NEC Toy Fair. There's going to be a massive like crowd of us going, so it's going to be a big meetup. And I think for me now, being involved in this kind of thing, that means more to me meeting up with people than it actually does going to a toy fair. And I mean, I used to get despondent when I used to go to a toy fair with Georgie and I come out like empty handed. I'm like, there's nothing there. I was a bit disappointed
Right.
because you want to go there, you want to get something. That doesn't bother me now. I'm quite happy going in and not coming out with loads of stuff or like empty handed, but it's just the meeting with people. It's
Yep.
the community feel, the friendships that you make and all
Yep.
that sort of stuff. I just absolutely love it. It's fantastic. And it puts a whole new spin on going out to these toy fairs and conventions now for sure.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, it's because of this community and the collecting that I met Pete.
Yeah.
I met you. Well, not we haven't physically met, but
No, but I
um,
know what you
yeah,
mean. Yeah. Yeah.
right, yeah. Like Luke Reynolds,
Yeah.
Tony Roberts, all those guys. Yeah, it's been really great to like get to know a lot of different people, and yeah, it's fabulous.
Will you
It
be
is the
going to
best
Joe
part,
Fest?
huh?
Are you going to Joe Fest?
I never get to go to Joe Fest. That always seems to be in a time when I can't make it, and I've been
Okay.
meaning to get down there. But it always like something always conflicts with it. So
Yeah.
maybe this year if I get a chance to go, and I don't even collect GI Joe, so I'd be going just for once again just to hang out with people and
Well, I think because because
meet and
Shabby's
greet.
going and he went for the first time last year, and he said they do so much more than just GI Joe stuff. It's like all sorts
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
bits and bobs, and that intrigues me. Was that a toy line that you were never into as a kid, then GI Joe, or
No, I never really got into GI Joe. I love that toy line. I think it's a
yeah,
great toy line. It's probably one of the absolute best toy lines.
yeah,
Its quality is probably superior to the Transformers as far as like the articulation and all the
mhm,
different things that they came out with for it. Of course, Transformers never had play sets or anything like that, so GI Joe had things like the flag and crazy
mm,
stuff that was amazing. But yeah, I just never got into it. My brother did, and some kids that lived down the street from me that were the same age as me. They uh, they were very much into GI Joe, and they had all the GI Joe figures. So we would
yeah,
often like go and mix and match our guys as we played together. And I think I might have mentioned before that we used to heavily abuse a lot of our toys. So the GI Joes got the blunt of it.
yeah,
But yeah, we had a lot of fun with playing with those toys. I just never particularly owned them,
yeah.
and I was just talking with Luke about he was dipping his toes into that line,
Yes,
and
he
I
is.
said
Yeah, yeah,
I was like, oh man, the rabbit hole is so deep with that line. It is so massive. It
yeah.
just goes on and on and on. How many
Well,
figs? Even if you're just collecting the original line.
yeah. What I like about Luke Reynolds is he says he's not got any room to get any more toy lines, and yet every week you see him. I've just dipped my toe into another toy line. Luke, what are you saying? You've got no room, mate. And he's like dipping his toe in constantly to these new lines. Oh, fantastic!
It's a great love.
Well, I've got coming up to the top of the hour.
Okay.
2 more questions for you.
Sure.
What gives you that toy collecting buzz?
I would say just finding something that really I'm like, there's a spot for this, that the hunt is really what does it. And there's obviously the nostalgia of the whole thing. And yeah, just getting out there and just finding something interesting and unique. And that makes me really happy.
Yeah.
I recently got into getting some Captain Power stuff.
Okay.
So I had some of that when I was a kid. That was released in '86, and I remember getting into that because it was like probably one of the most interactive, cool toy lines of the time. Because you used to be able to shoot. It shot like lasers at the screen, and they would reflect back, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of interactivity there. And of course, it was space adventure looking stuff, sci-fi stuff. So I saw some of that at that big convention that I was talking about earlier,
Yeah.
that toy show, and I got a bunch of figures and things there at super reasonable prices. And I said, "Oh, I just got to get into this," and I did. And of course, Scuba was prodding me the whole time to get it, get it, get it, get it. Don't pass it up. You're gonna regret it. So I did. So yeah, I dipped my toys into that line, and
Yeah.
it's a very under collected line. So that's also a good thing because it's not particularly super expensive.
Yeah. Do you get more of a buzz actually going out and finding stuff in like these toy fairs or toy conventions and stuff like that, or are you quite happy just to browse online and get it through the internet?
I love getting it in person more than
Yeah.
anything else. My son is here again. That's my favorite. Just going and finding it in the wild. That's the best. Now I have no problem with buying something online.
Yeah.
But just picking it up and seeing it and getting to look at it before I purchase, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you take your little man with you to these toy hunts sometimes, or?
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah?
He goes with Pete and I a lot. We'll do a little dude's day out, and as much as because he loves all this stuff. And even today, oh yeah, okay, that's enough. He's really goofy. Even today we went to a toy store, just he and
Oh,
I,
wow.
and he wanted a Batman figure. So
Okay, he likes Batman, yeah?
yeah, he likes the Batman villains.
Okay. Okay.
But that's like his new thing. He'll get into something new all the time and be hey, watch out, don't knock those over. Gotta watch out for those vintage toys over there. But yeah, he loves that sort of stuff. So he picked up that, and I picked up a Transformer toy. So
How much enjoyment do you get then out of taking your lad to these toy stores and then these toy fairs and stuff like that, and him getting involved in this kind of thing with his toys? I mean, it must bring back memories for you and stuff like that.
oh
And
yeah,
seeing that he's going to grow up and hopefully be into collecting and stuff like that as well.
yeah, absolutely. Hold on. Hey, buddy,
Wow.
calm down. Okay, let's be quiet. Okay, trying to get him to stop being so loud.
That's okay, man.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because he really finds it he's super enthusiastic about it.
I can see he's very enthusiastic, very lively, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's get that second wind going on. It's probably too much sugar, but he loves it. And I love it because he loves it. And I get a lot of joy buying him toys and getting him excited about that sort of stuff. So
awesome.
Yeah, I got a halo now.
Last question for you, sir.
Yeah.
What does your collection mean to you?
It really brings me back to a place of childhood, and in this modern day, it's I look at things and it's not necessarily that I'm like super nostalgic about oh, I wish we were back in the 80s when it was
Yeah.
the 80s and blah, blah, blah. Because I remember the 80s as being a time when like the Cold War was on, so I don't necessarily view it like that, but just like the nostalgia of being a kid and having that imagination and freedom and no real worries in the world, just kind of doing your own thing and loving it. That was really the most, that's probably what does it the most for me. Okay, that's enough. Thank you. He wants my attention. Okay, thanks, bud. Hey, go get me one of your favorite Hulks. Go get me your favorite Hulk, please. That will get him. We'll go find a Hulk now. Yeah, that's what really does it for me, is really just the whole the feeling of freedom and the living the life as a kid. You're seeing it here, with the excitement, the just absolute joy of living life and not having to adult.
Yeah. I mean, so your dad, I mean, does he like your collection and stuff like that? Is he into that? Or
oh yeah, he loves it. He comes in here all the time and likes to try and play with them. And like I said, he often wants me to. He'll say, "I want you to share your toys with me," and I'm like, "No."
No, isn't it funny that as a parent, you're always telling your kids to share the toys? And yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, but
brilliant.
Please don't touch the $100 Transformer. Please don't.
Absolutely. Ron, mate, I've got to say, this hour's just flying by far too quickly. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. That has come to the end of the conversation. Where can people find you on social media?
They probably really won't. I do not do any social media. I'm not on Facebook or anything like that. I have. Yeah, you do. Go get a Hulk, pal. Go get one. Go get your favorite one. Real quickly. Go get it. Quick. Yeah, go get it. Well, that's not your favorite. Go get your favorite Hulk. He's got his arm of a Hulk. So yeah, I don't really do any social media. I'm on Instagram as Viscotis on Instagram, but that's pretty shut up and closed up. I only invite people that I know and have a tight knit, at least a friendship with, and things of that nature. Mostly because I put pictures of. This is one of his favorite Hulks here.
Do you want to jump up again quickly before we go?
Yeah. Do you want to come up and show Stu your Hulk? All right, here we go. Is this your favorite Hulk? Yeah, that's your favorite.
Can I just say, for a little fella, you're very noisy, aren't you? Hey?
Yeah.
Where's all that noise come from? Wow. I don't know. Butter wouldn't melt in my mouth. That is a cool Hulk. That is a cool Hulk.
Yep.
That is awesome. Who is your favorite Batman villain?
Bane.
Bane?
Yep.
Wow.
I'll show you him.
You're going to show me Bane?
You're going to show you Bane.
Go show us Bane.
Quickly. Yeah. So yeah, you'll also find me. Obviously, I show up on Scuba Pete's videos there on Chasing 80 Toys, and then I show up in a variety of different live streams sometimes. So if people want to say hi to me or friend me there, that's a good way to do it.
Let's have a look.
This is the only one I have.
He's massive. Who would win? Who would win in a fight between Bane and the Incredible Hulk?
Who would win in a fight between Bane and the Incredible Hulk?
I think Bane is stronger than Hulk.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, that is a surprise.
Bane is stronger than Hulk.
I don't know. I think I disagree with that, my friend.
Wow. What do you reckon? Who would win out of a fight between me and Bane? I mean, look at these big guns. Look at these. Who
would win, Stu or Bane? Bane.
Bane?
Sorry.
Oh, man, that's terrible. Terrible.
Okay. You could do a whole video on this guy's collecting life, and he's only 5 years old, considering he's got more toys than me.
Absolutely. Would you like that? Would you like to be on the video one day?
Do you want to be on the video? Do you want Mr. Stu to interview you? No?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Okay. Well, when you're a
maybe
bit
one day.
older, when you're a bit
Yep.
older, yeah, that would be
There
awesome.
you go.
Well, listen, Ron, I won't put your link to your Instagram account on the description below because, like you say, it's a private one and you invite people. So I respect that. So I won't do that. So it's not an issue. But I've got to say, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you, mate. Thank you so much. And I'm loving the special guest. Absolute quality. Brilliant stuff.
Yes.
All I've got left to say is, for those of you who stayed to the end, thank you very much. Really appreciate your support and you watching. Take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. This has been Ron and his little soldier here. Awesome stuff. Thank you very much.
Say bye, Andrew.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks so much,
Ta-ra.
Stu. I'll talk to you later.